Many have referred to Louis Mountbatten as the first astronaut launched by the Irish space program, but Cloud-Cuckoo-Land reminded me that Lord Nelson had been sent spaceward some 13 years prior. Horatio Nelson's defeat of Napoleon at the Battle of Trafalgar had made merchant shipping safe once again, and the capitalists who stood to profit from peace asked the city of Dublin to construct a monument to the man, about 40 years before England raised her own Nelson's Column. The project was paid for by public subscription, which, as far as I can tell, means the payment was entirely voluntary. After the original design was heavily modified to bring down the cost, a 13-foot statue of Nelson was placed atop a 120-foot Doric column, making it the tallest structure in the immediate area by quite a long ways. It immediately triggered both political and aesthetic controversy. Nationalists hated a monument to a British jackboot, with many considering Napoleon to have been an ally, and others found it to just be an eyesore. Legal removal of the pillar has been hotly debated since Irish independence of 1921, but nothing official was ever done, although a group of students attempted to burn it in 1955. Liam Sutcliffe had already been an active member of the IRA for some time when some random tourists from Belfast asked him why the Irish hadn't done anything about the giant British monument at the center of their capital.
This is the street of the heroes of Ireland. O'Connell, Parnell, Smith O'Brien, Nelson. Nelson? How did he get up there?
They didn't like his responses, and he realized he didn't either. When he spoke to another member of his splinter cell, he learned there were already plans in place for the destruction, and he requested the honor of planting the device himself. On February 28, 1966, Sutcliffe planted a mixture of ammonal and gelignite, timed to go off in the wee hours of the morning. The detonator failed, so he retrieved it, redesigned the timer, and replaced it on March 7th, shaking hands with the caretaker as he left, allegedly muttering under his breath, "You'll be looking for a new job tomorrow." He learned of his success from a woman at the bus stop the following morning. The government officially denounced the action, but the Irish president allegedly called his family-owned newspaper to suggest the headline, "British Admiral Leaves Dublin by Air." The Irish government quickly decided to demolish the remainder of the column. Based on its location, it should have been knocked down with heavy equipment, but, according to Sutcliffe, the former members of the Irish army in the government couldn't resist taking it down with one final explosion, even bigger than the first. A few adjacent shop windows were blown out. 3 different songs about Nelson's flight immediately charted, with "Up Went Nelson" by Go Lucky 4 topping the Irish charts for 2 months. Just after the explosion, Nelson's head had been picked up and placed in municipal storage, but it was quickly stolen by students who began renting it out for photo ops to pay off their student debt. Police officers rushed an event where they had sold tickets to look at it, only to find they'd made a papier-mâché copy, the real thing being stored somewhere else. Eventually, the heat became too much, and the head was leased to a London shop owner for £250 a month. The police then arrested a bunch of students who weren't involved, so the head was eventually returned. It currently resides in the Dublin City Library archive, where it apparently receives no visitors. This face tells a story. Some of the damage on it dates back to the 1916 Easter Rising. In 2000, Sutcliffe confessed to the bombing on Irish radio. He was briefly arrested and then released, with no one involved ever being charged. People have deduced some of the others involved, but Sutcliffe has never named them. In 2003, Nelson's pillar was replaced by the Millennium Spire, standing 3 times taller than the original. Sutcliffe says that the new spire is even more of an eyesore than Nelson was. This is what happens when you leave things in the hands of your local government.